Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another amazing episode here on the Train Hall of Sean podcast. And today we have the very first guest speaker we've ever returned to the show and also flown to Houston. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the show Ms. Kelly Stone. What's up, girl?
What's up? Excited to be here.
Dude, yeah, this is awesome. Like, it was so, like, people from the very first time that we ever met, the episode did great. And people liked it. And I got good feedback from what they learned from you. So we brought you back on the second time. And then that was awesome too. Because each time was different conversations.
Yep.
So I was like, yo, what can we do different for the third episode, right? So for the third episode, let's just bring Kelly to Houston and let's do it in person. Because obviously I've never met you yet.
Yep.
Right? And then now you're here and it's so cool. So she flew in Friday night.
Yep.
And we kind of did some stuff yesterday, Saturday, and then now today, Sunday, we are doing the actual podcast recording. And I'm going to enjoy this one a lot more because obviously you're here.
Yep.
But I'm also going to enjoy it because every time I ended an episode with you, I always felt like I wanted to talk more about so much other stuff. So I feel like today we can actually do that and get everything out, get everything out. So ladies and gentlemen, get ready for venting, get ready for
all the things today.
Just everything and anything. So since this is going to be a in-depth episode and stuff, and you've given your background in both episodes, and we'll link the first episode in this show note. So if you want to check out more about Kelly, we'll put both the episodes so you don't miss out on any of them. But for the third episode, can you give just a background story on just how you got to who you are today?
Oh man, loaded question.
Take your time. We got all the time in the world right now. All the time.
Yeah, I mean, born and raised in Denver, Colorado. Uh-huh. Grew up as an athlete my whole life: gymnastics, swimming, swam D1 in college. Pursued a doctorate in physical therapy, University of Florida, and then moved back to Denver in 2016. Okay. And from then on, I've kind of transitioned into competing in competitive CrossFit, do a variety of physical therapy stuff, and then just passionate about health, nutrition, wellness, training, all the things.
Everything that come with it. No, that's one thing I've always enjoyed about the talks I have with you because they're so genuine and to who you are. And it's rare to find people that have a passion for what we do and a passion to help other people.
Yep.
And I think that's very important to have, especially with what we do. And you have that naturally. And I think that's what also other people find attractive whenever it comes down to looking for someone to guide them towards something to help them with their body and health or any sort of goals that they have in those specific areas. And I found that in day one. Mm-hmm. Because when I first reached out to you, I reached out to you even before I even know you were on the Titan Games.
Yep.
In the first time I reached out to you. And then that all that stuff started happening. And I was like, what? Kelly's on the Titan Games? That's freaking awesome. But, so has training, when did weight training and all this stuff enter your life? Because I know you started as a swimmer, right? And started doing all this stuff. When did this enter your life?
So, I mean, we were talking about this earlier about how I think it's so easy for people to get caught up in where they are in their journey versus and kind of comparing to other people. So, I've been doing CrossFit since 2016, but I started lifting weights when I was 14 years old with my dad. So, it's evolved and it's been different things throughout my life. That type of training looked different when I was in high school versus when I was in college, and then briefly dabbled in some figure shows, some bodybuilding competitions, and then the typing of training that I do now really has evolved since 2016. Mm-hmm. So through all of that, I've seen my body change dramatically, my skill level, and I've been fit in various different ways depending on what I'm doing. When I swam in college, my body looked very different and it was efficient for what I was doing for that, but now it looks very different. So I just like to help people, regardless of where they are at, work towards their goals and kind of realize what that actually looks like, because I think it's so tempting to just think, I just need to lose weight to get my ideal body type, and a lot of time that's not actually the case. I weigh more now than I did swimming, and my body fat's way lower now, but it's just a totally different kind of look and training mindset, honestly.
That's why I think it's crazy whenever it comes down to just how your body would transition, how it changes through time.
Yep.
I think it's so cool because how you just said right now, whenever you did figure, you competed in figure, right? Is that what it was? Mm-hmm. So whenever you were there, and you still look like your aesthetics is still pretty good, but it wasn't like how it was whenever you were doing figure. Were you more lean in figure?
Yeah, for towards the end of it, absolutely.
Right.
Like I have way more muscle now than I did
Yes,
then.
yes.
But I was, I walked on stage almost 15 pounds lighter than I am now. But that also was not a happy
Right. Like it took.
happy place for me to be that. And to just focus specifically on that. I don't think I realized until finishing that and several months, even a year later, of the mental impact that had on me. And for
Yeah.
me, just wasn't a mentally healthy space. So I don't regret it because I learned a lot, and it really prompted my just passion for pursuing nutrition and helping others. But yeah, I just kind of realized I needed to be in a place where I felt like I was being more pro health and focusing on what my body can do and what it's capable of versus standing on a stage and having people tell me what's wrong with me.
Right.
Like,
I know.
for me, it was a very mentally draining type
Right.
of environment.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's like so important for people to understand.
Yep.
Because like there's so many different ways that you can attack something, right? If you want to get leaner or if you want to build more muscle, like there's different avenues of approach to hit those things. And I feel like that's like, so what we try to do for the podcast, we always try to inspire people to believe in who they are. Like
Yep.
that's the biggest thing. That's the missing piece, the key that I feel like is lacked when it comes down to people like pursuing something. Because if you don't believe in something that you want to do or even believe that you can achieve it, then it's never going to happen.
Yep.
So believing in yourself is powerful just by having that. But then, if you want to hit a certain PR, or if you want to get bigger muscles, or if you want to like shred fat, or whatever it is that you're trying to do inside of the goals you have, there's so many different ways to do it, and you don't always have to put yourself in the worst scenarios. You don't always have to like ruin your mental health or go into a complete deficit to the point to where it's like, insane. Because you were saying you were at a point to where you're eating like what, 800 calories, 700 calories at one time?
700 calories.
That's nuts, dude. And people do that. Some people right now listening maybe are people that are like, I need to be in a deficit, right? Like I need to be in a deficit. So for me to be in a deficit, I need to eat 1,000 calories. I need to burn like 2,000 calories, right? So I need to if I get into 1,000 calorie deficit, I think I'll lose weight a lot faster, right? And maybe, okay? But you're going to do way more harm
Yep.
to your body and to your mind, to your mental health than anything else. And I feel like that's a huge problem with people they don't understand what deficits are, surpluses, performance training, leaning down, and like, all these different things that come into it. And you feel now better than you ever have.
100%. Like I feel like I am the most confident, happy, just well-balanced, passionate person that I've ever been. And I finally feel like I kind of hit my stride. And it took me until really about a year, maybe 2 ago, to really kind of get there. And that was with the help of coaches, both nutritionally and CrossFit wise, to kind of get to this happy place. It did not happen overnight. And I had to manage kind of the aftermath of things like going through figure. And
Right.
I think the biggest thing that I've realized is even if something works in the short term and it seems like the logical path, if it's not sustainable, it's not worth it.
not
At least
worth
not
it.
to me.
No, not at
I
all.
will take the long journey, 2, 3, 4 years of building muscle and progressively working towards those goals to get to a place where I'm at now where, my body composition doesn't change a whole lot year round. I eat a ton of food, right now, currently close to 3,000 or more calories a day.
Right.
And I feel like I'm eating and I'm training to fuel myself and perform at my best. And then aesthetics is really just a secondary kind of byproduct of that,
Right, it's
which
like a
mentally
bonus.
is a much healthier place for me to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously with like, and I've been waiting to talk about this. This is going to be a good one. Because this might be like the most venting and time consuming topic. But with, and we've talked about this for almost the days you've been here, we've always talked about this topic. You probably know what I'm about to say. But whenever it comes down to like your lifestyle and the things that you do with inside your career, because you're a PT, right?
Yep.
So specifically, before we even jump into the subject, what do you do specifically in PT?
whole spectrum of things. I work in pediatrics full time, so do anything from infants, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, kind of whole spectrum there. And then also do ortho sports out of my CrossFit gym, so much more kind of high level dry needling, hands-on work, corrective exercise type stuff. So
Yeah, right. Okay.
really the whole spectrum when it
Right.
comes to PT.
Right. So then you obviously have to like prioritize your days and focus on like what you need and how you can be the best and perform at your best, right? Every single day with what you do. So whenever it comes down to like you dialing in and finding the times of your days to focus on the goals that you have and the things that you want to do with your body and health, like what are some things that you kind of focus on when it comes down to like you making the time to do it? How is your mentality whenever you want to, you look at your day and you see how busy it is and you are trying to put in times for your workouts and put in times for, you with your food and you with getting sleep, and like how is it and how do you think about it?
Yeah, we've been talking about that a lot this weekend, time management and time. It's like the one thing we can't buy, we can't make more of. And the thing that I have really realized is probably the single most valuable thing to me right now is time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it is the number one excuse that people have. I can't do X because I don't have enough time. And the reality is, even though people don't want to acknowledge it, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and we make time for the things that are most important to us. So I will be the first to point that out for somebody else if they tell me they don't have time. And my response is, well, you're just not making it a priority, and that's okay. But let's acknowledge it for what it is.
Right.
So I think something that really helped me, and I think we've talked about David Goggins in the past, but he really kind of brought this to my attention when I read his book. But basically looking at your entire day in 15-minute increments and finding those little pockets of time, number one. I think that's a really good place to start as far as figuring out how much extra time you actually do have that maybe you waste in ways you weren't even realizing it. So,
Right.
How many hours are you watching Netflix? How many hours are you scrolling social media? How many hours are you just kind of wasting time that you could be dedicating to something else?
Right.
So, I'm a planner, and I joke that like my life is scheduled in 15-minute increments because it feels like that most days, where
Right.
I have my morning routine, I have patients, I have nutrition, clients that I get back to, and I have just made it a point to the things that are most important to me, which include tracking my food, sleeping enough, training. Like, I make those a priority, and they are structured into my day. So it's never a question if I'm going to go to the gym or not. It's structured, it's part of my day, and I just do it just like I would do anything else. Same thing goes with tracking my food. I count my macros 95% of the time. And, yes, for some people it's a burden or it's a hindrance.
Right.
And for me, it's just part of my day. It's no different than taking a shower.
Right.
It's no different than, eating lunch. Like, it's just part of my day, and I do it and I don't think twice about it. So
Right.
I think it's really just how you approach those things. And instead of looking at exercise as a hindrance or looking at tracking your food as a hindrance or sleep as a hindrance, realizing how much value they can place in your life and just making it a priority. Like,
Right.
you choose to do it or you choose to view it as something that's a burden.
Right.
And that's a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of people, they'll like question the fact that we do prioritize this because I guess it could come easy for us, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's something that we do. So like if, like, I train people for a living. I coach people all from in person in my own facility, or I train people online. So fitness is like I'm surrounded by all the
Yep.
time, but because I've made my life that way, because
Yep.
this is what I want to do. So for me, it's easy to find time in my day because I, like you said, I prioritize it, and we've been prioritizing it for years. Like basically your whole life, or at least until you first started doing any sort of physical activity or being active as a child or whatnot. And then getting into training and this and that, and every session is always different.
Yep.
It's never always going to be the same. And I feel like whenever I started training, it was more of aesthetics, right? And I wanted to like change how I look to gain confidence, to gain people's approval
Yep.
of myself. And I that's what I was focused on. And that led me to like not being fulfilled and not always putting my health last. Because that means like I wanted to take supplements.
Yep.
I wanted to eat a bunch of crap food, and I wanted to like do anything I could to get bigger. Like
Yep.
if I could get bigger, that's fine. But if I jeopardize my health, that's fine too. So then that caused like a problem mentally. And then when I went into the military, that's when performance came into my training, but more performance for like mental health.
Yep.
And like to be happy, to feel like I'm doing something. And then that transformed And it kept growing into where I am now, right, with training. So like when I train, I focus on being mentally happy with myself, and then being mentally happy like in life.
Yep.
You know, like when I first started the podcast, it was hard for me to talk about myself or training. Like, okay, I lift weights. Like, what is that? Like, how can I help people with me just lifting weights? You know, but training gives you different. It's like what you're designed for. That's why you have joints and shit. That's why you have muscles, right? Like
we're designed to move. We have to move.
Dude. Yep. You have to eat, right? You have to stay hydrated. You got to sleep. So you have to do these things.
Yeah.
And that's just the fundamental base pillars of like being a human being.
Yeah, and I think what people don't realize a lot of times is they look at exercise as a burden. They look at all these factors. Oh, sleep's a burden, exercise is a burden. But what they don't realize is how much it will pay them back in dividends. Like, I get questions all the time. How are you happy all the time? How do you have energy? Like, how are you just... You seem like, everything's going well, and it's intentional. Like, I exercise not because anybody makes me. I don't exercise to look a certain way. I exercise because it's my mental health. It makes me feel good. It gives me energy, and I feel like most genuinely myself, like it's where I thrive. It's the one thing I do every day for myself, not for anybody else. Right. And if you really look at it like that, like, you're prolonging your health. You're going to have more energy for your relationships. You're going to be more productive. And that became especially clear for me recently when I was kind of forced into a 3-week break. And it was crazy how much on paper, I'm like, okay, I should have more time. I can be more productive. I can do other things. And I was not thriving. Like I felt like I was just anxious. I didn't have my usual outlet. I was not as productive. And it just kind of reaffirmed to me like, wow, I do this because I love it and it adds value to my life, not because somebody says I have to do it or it looks good on paper. It really adds value to my life. And a lot of that too is just the mindset of health. I am passionate about health and wellness. And so it's not always just taking things away, like eating less food or trying to get skinnier. It's like actually the opposite mindset, like adding more protein, adding more fruits and veggies, adding more water and sleep, and really fueling myself to be the best version that I can be in everything that I'm doing. And I think I see it pay off in every job avenue that I work, relationships that I have, like just everything that I'm trying to do.
Everything you do. And it's crazy because we went paddleboarding the other day, and this was my first time paddleboarding. I've never paddleboarded before. And we went out, and at the end when we were coming back, you said that this is simple activity, right? Like it's something that people, like it's basically a cardio session. Right, It's something that this is just creating activity somehow. And I feel like people will forget like what truly being healthy and active is. You don't have to go and do what Kelly does in the gym. You don't have to do what I do in the gym. You don't have to. That's just our view on fitness. That's our view on like us growing into who we want to be or the things that we want to achieve or whatnot. But your fitness, your activity can be like, I just want to walk my dog, or I want to play with my kids happy.
Absolutely.
Or like I want to go out and I want to be able to go kayaking with my friends, or like maybe you're on like a kayak team or something and you want to like improve the way that you perform as a kayaker or whatever, and like these are the things that you want to do. Or you want to go hiking after you retire with your spouse or with your husband, your wife or whatever, and you want to like do those things, and if hiking is something you want to do, you don't have to go and go into a caloric deficit and try to work on getting 6-pack or trying to work on hiring your squat or deadlift or whatever. You just got to be healthy and strong enough and happy enough mentally, physically to go do that activity. And whenever I say it a lot too, like movement is just movement, right? That's all you got to do. And I think that's just how simple it is.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing else to it.
Just finding something that's another question I get often of like, well, what's the best workout routine? Like, what do I need to do? And my answer is always like, what do you want to do? Like, what are you going to be able to do consistently? Because like if we say, okay, my goal is to build this body. Okay, like that's going to require certain types of training. There's still some flexibility in there. But ultimately, like I can give you the quote unquote perfect exercise routine, which really doesn't exist. But I can say, hey, if you want to build muscle, you want to be leaner, you're going to need some type of strength training, and that looks differently for different people. Right. But ultimately, if that's not something you enjoy and that's not something you're going to be consistent with, it doesn't matter. It's not going to be the perfect routine for you. So I'd rather you say, hey, I'm going to do CrossFit, or I'm going to do Orange Theory, I'm going to go hike. And as long as you're moving, you're still going to be working towards your health and overall just a more balanced, type of person. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. Like, I do what I do because I love it and I have very specific goals. I am never trying to push my routine onto other people. And even to the point where, like, I used to post a lot more of like the specifics of what I do every day, and I'd have people that are like, oh, well, can you keep posting like your workouts? And I'm like, well, a lot of it is for me, like for what my specific goals are, and that is not necessarily for somebody else, like they're sometimes individualized. But I never want people to think, oh my gosh, if I don't have 3 hours a day to work out, then I'm just not going to be successful, so I'm not even going to try. Like, that is not the right type of mindset.
Yeah, right. No, actually, I like that you brought that up. I think it's, there is no one plan fits all.
No.
And there'll never be one.
No.
Because it's like, we're all different so many different ways. Like
Yeah, and even like, I look at like my evolution as an athlete. And, like we were talking about yesterday, I had a question like recently of like, well, why do I waste so much time on CrossFit? And I thought it was such a bizarre question, just coming from somebody who doesn't understand me or my mentality. And, what I kind of reflect on is, yes, like right now I'm passionate about CrossFit, but before it was college swimming. And before that, it was years and years of gymnastics. So it's nothing new. The mindset, the discipline, the work ethic, that is nothing new for me, but it's different and it evolves. And like CrossFit will not be my thing forever. I'm sure at some point it will transition into something else, but it's more just having that outlet competitively and health-wise and movement-wise that makes me truly happy.
No, absolutely, man. I'm still surprised you took 3 weeks off. Like,
it was not.
I remember seeing
the
that.
right thing,
Yeah, I remember seeing that on your like stories and stuff. No, I saw that you said that you came back. From your 3-week break, and this is like, and you were doing pretty well, even though you took 3 weeks off. And I've never, I think maybe because like the only time I've ever taken time off like that was in the military, whenever we had to go to a field prop or do something, and we didn't have a gym. So I have to go and do something in the field for 2 weeks. That's the only time. But then I had no control over nutrition or nothing. So either way, everything was going to shit anyways, right? But I have come back from those field props and went to the gym, and even in some case scenarios or some situations that I was in, I came back and my lifts didn't change. I was still just as strong, and sometimes even a little bit stronger.
They go up,
And I was like, okay, dude, I don't understand like what's going on. I still haven't like truly put it into like figured it out, I guess.
Yeah.
Because whenever you take a long, okay, so I know obviously it's like science, okay? If you want to like preserve as much muscle as possible without training, you need to have a high protein intake, right? Get a good amino acids so that you can, nourish the muscle and keep it strong, right? You don't want to be like too much in a deficit or, having an imbalance in your macros or whatnot. So like I aim for that whenever I'm taking the time off or whatever. But then whenever you are training, right? And this is how you can kind of figure out if you enjoy this mentally or if you enjoy it physically, because it's both of them. But whenever you come back, sometimes you get stronger, right? Sometimes, majority of the time, your lifts might stay the same. The biggest thing I see that takes a hit is conditioning, because I feel like your whole body kind of like that conditioning phase, the heart rate doesn't get challenged as much no more because you took time off. So that coming back is difficult. But when it comes down to like doing a PR or doing some sort of like lift for 3 reps, 5 reps, my weight can stay the same. But what takes a big hit is my mental health. Like I'm so like flustered in my day, or like I can't focus on something, or like when something gets me stressed out or gets me elevated somehow in my day, I have no way to decompress it.
Absolutely.
But I think it's also very healthy for us as athletes or any other athlete out there, because athlete mental health is crucial, man. It's like something that really hurts people, and because we put so much on ourselves, and then if you have a coach and you're competing, then that's just more. But I think it's good to decompress from that and find other outlets that can decompress you.
Sure.
Because then what happens, and we talked about this with social media, what happens if something gets shut out? Right? Like with, for example, COVID. Like if that takes away all the gyms and you can no longer train, like I was going crazy whenever everything started closing down, and I was like, dude, there's no way, bro. Like I'm not going to be able to, I can't. Like I've been training for so long, and it's all going to go down the drain if I don't find something. But then you find different ways to decompress. And at the end of the day, you always have your own body. So there's always different types of ways that you can move, different ways you can challenge yourself. But I was like, dude, I can't believe, and to watch what you do, like you train a lot, and you're always trying to like push yourself, and you're always working it, and you're always going into a workout full force, and like you finish the workout with nothing left, like that's what you do. And whenever you get to that type of like athletic level, I feel like, even just self-competitive towards yourself, and you take 3 weeks off, like, I can only imagine how rough that would have been. And you being like, not optional, but
Yeah.
you were told by your coach, right, today?
Yes.
See, like that,
Yeah.
having to like, do I really have to take 3 weeks off? Like,
Yeah.
are you sure? Are you
Yeah.
sure it's okay for me? And then you doing it.
Yeah, you know, and it was the mental challenge was the biggest piece. You know, like I still was able to go out and bike and hike and do things. You know, there was a day where I went and just
biked all day, dude.
I did a sprint triathlon just for myself, just for fun. You know, which people were like, "You're crazy." But
'Cause you
I
hate
know,
running.
I know, because I
He's out there running all day.
I know, so funny. But, you know, I know how well he knows me, you know, as an athlete, and it's good for my joints. It's good for my body to heal because you're right. I spend so
Fully.
much time
Yeah.
ramped up. Like I am in this high intensity, I do high intensity training, high strength movements, high volume. And so if I do that all year, at some point I'm going to crash and burn. So this is the part of the season where you have to have downtime. And, you know, as a, you know, performance-based coach, like you have to have cycles. There's a reason we don't just try to PR your lifts every single
Every day,
day. Like
yeah.
it just doesn't work like that. So it's neural fatigue, it's muscular fatigue, it's joint and tendon health. Like that's something where even though I'm quote unquote healthy right now, you know, my joints take a beating for a lot of the type of training that I do. So it's important to give those things time to relax. And, you know, yes, the first week back, did I feel great? No. But did I maintain my strength? Yes.
Yeah.
And did my conditioning, now I'm back, you know, finished 2 solid weeks. And I feel maybe not 100%, but pretty, you know, back to where I was pre-break. So, you know, just reminding myself like, hey, it's not that big of a deal in the whole scheme of things. I'm not setting myself back. I'm definitely most likely setting myself forward for the rest of my season for next year. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned through getting more education and experience with nutrition is, you know, I was that type of person before where I would be panicked about not working out because I was going to gain a bunch of weight. You know, like that's so tempting to be in that mindset. I grew up like that. Like I need to exercise to burn off the calories that I'm eating, but nutrition's a powerful thing. So like I was able to, you know, yes, make changes to my diet, like where normally I'm eating an astronomical amount of carbs because that's what my body thrives on. So all I had to do was bump my carbs down, decrease my calories a little bit because I wasn't exercising as much, and I didn't just all of a sudden put on a bunch of weight because I wasn't working out so much. And I think that is such a powerful tool to realize that even if all you do is focus on better nutritional habits and walking, for a lot of people, that's enough of a stimulus to cause huge changes in their health and body composition, you know, and the power of nutrition in that regard, of just being able to take times where you're not necessarily as active, and it doesn't mean your body's just going to like just put on a bunch of pounds.
Yeah. See, that's funny you say that. Mine's the opposite. I feel like, because for me, I started training when I was 132 when I first started training, right? And then the highest I ever got was 194. But I felt like I love to perform. I love to be as fast as possible, but also as strong as possible. So, and I'm not trying to hit like 800s on PRs or anything like that, like deadlifts or anything. I'm not trying to go too strong, but I like to stay like at a good strong number compared to my weight. So 180, 185, 190 max is where I'll go to. But whenever I take a break, my fear is to lose
weight.
Yes, to lose weight and to lose the fullness and to lose the just that muscularity, right? The aesthetic side, and because I tried so hard to get there, right? You try so hard to get there, and then like you try so hard to get strong and stuff like that, and then whenever you take time, but it's also very important because we preach it all the time, like be healthy, take care of yourself, drink more water, sleep more, get some more better foods, and
take rest days.
But for us, what do you tell someone like us to how to get healthier? Like, take time.
Rest days.
Chill,
you have to. When people try to fight me on rest days, I'm like, if you're working out hard enough in your workouts, you need to have at least one, I think, complete rest day. Like, you just have to. You cannot be going 100% all the time. Your body will not thrive.
Right. No, absolutely. So taking that time completely off is good. And sometimes we train so much that it can catch up like to the point to where it's like it's not a burden, but it's like, okay, I gotta go train today. You know, instead of like taking that time off and coming back. I'm pretty sure when you came back, it was like touching the barbell again.
I was so excited.
Yeah,
it was like this is why. It was just a good reminder of the fact that I do this because I love it, not because anybody makes me do it. And even though I knew that deep down, it was a good reminder, you know, because I mentioned this season brought a lot more anxiety into my life than I feel like I've ever had and competitively. And so, through all that, I'm kind of thinking like, oh, am I still doing this for me? And this reminded me, absolutely. I do it because I love it.
Yeah, no, 100%, dude, 100%. What's the last competition you did? You just did one recently, right?
Yep. So I had the semifinals for like my CrossFit season, and then a last chance qualifier for that. So it was a long season. There was a lot of new components this year and a lot of unknowns, and so it seemed like it kind of dragged on, and I felt like I wasn't able to kind of mentally decompress between each of the stages. So. Going into next season, I think I'll have a better mindset because we kind of know a little bit more about what to expect.
Right.
But yeah, it was a long, stressful season. That's for sure.
No, I bet, dude. I bet. So what's next for Kelly? What is something that you want to do? What's the next milestone you want to hit?
Oh gosh, in training, my goals for this season are to, continue to be and become the best athlete that I can be. And I think the thing that I love and is the most challenging about something like CrossFit is you have to be good at everything. And that kind of foundationally goes against the primary principles of strength and conditioning. You either want to be someone who's endurance based or you want to be high strength, high output. And unfortunately, that's not how CrossFit works. So, I'm always on that constant struggle to be the strongest, best gymnast, best runner, best everything all at the same time. So, my current focus for the season will be aerobic conditioning and running because that's kind of the biggest hole that I have right now. But in doing so, I'm still trying to get stronger and I'm still trying to be the best athlete that I can be. So that's awesome.
It is. And that's one thing I do like about the sport is that it's like so just unknown. I think that's what's so cool about doing it is what you do, right? In competing. I think that's so cool with that sport and everything because just having the like mystery of being as fit as you can with the things that and then going out and not knowing what they're going to throw at you and then you just having to perform. Like I think that's just equivalent to life. Like 'cause you never know what's going to happen in life.
Yep. I say it all the time. The thing that I identify most about being a CrossFitter is I feel capable. I can go out and do a sprint triathlon. I could go run 10 miles right now. Do I want to? No. But could I? Yes. But I can do pull-ups. I can do these things. And I didn't feel like that when I was doing more competing in figure. I felt like it was just about aesthetics and it wasn't about being athletic. It wasn't about being able to perform or being capable. It was really just how I looked. And so for me, that was not the most ideal place for me.
Right. And then you just recently got into nutritional coaching, right? Was that just recent or?
It's been a couple years now.
Yep. What you were talking about the other day, but what's the biggest thing that you see that people are doing wrong with their food?
Oh gosh, trying to starve themselves, number one. And I think, not getting enough of things, of the good stuff.
Right.
They're trying to starve themselves and thinking that that's the way, to go. And a lot of times it's not getting enough protein. It's not getting enough vitamins and minerals from a variety of fruits and veggies and not eating enough whole foods, and one thing that really gets me riled up, if you guys follow me, this, but it's just such a knock on carbs, carbs are the enemy, carbs are the problem. And it's no, if we have somehow gotten into this societal understanding that all carbs are bad. And the reality is processed carbs are not the same as whole food carbs. And if you are somebody who is trying to compete in a power or strength-based sport or high intensity like CrossFit, you have to have carbs. It's the primary fuel source. So I am bound and determined to show people that you can eat carbs and be okay. And ultimately it's part of living sustainably. So, I have nothing wrong with, people who choose to, people ask me about keto and this and that. And if it fits in your lifestyle, if you say, you know what, I prefer higher fat, I feel better like that, that's totally fine. But the reality is most people do not. They do better with a more balanced breakdown of macros because it gives you more flexibility and it's going to ultimately allow you to be more successful long term. So I don't care if something worked for you, if it's in the past tense. It worked, but it's not currently working. To me, that means you did it, you fell off, and if you're sitting here now talking to me, it's probably because you gained all that weight back or
Right.
lost the benefits that you had from that. So, I am much more a slow and steady approach. Things are not going to happen overnight, but I never want you to feel starving. I never want you to feel so deprived that you can't enjoy a night out with family or friends or your spouse. Like one donut's not going to kill you. Eating 12, that's going to be a setback.
Like
but
three
it's
times a week.
yeah, it's really this all or nothing mindset. That's maybe one of the other big things that I see. I'm like, well, I was doing really great and then I had a donut. So I said, screw it. I'm just going to eat like crap for 3 days straight. That is not the mindset that's going to allow you to be successful. But saying, you know what, like I have a craving. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to have a glass of wine. I'm going to do this. And then moving on with your day and not feeling guilty about that. That's ultimately how you can find balance in your life.
Yeah.
And that's huge. Like I don't eat perfectly all the time. Like not at all.
And I think it's crazy for people to hear it, like to hear that that there's days that we do eat the way that you would want to eat. Like if I want to have a burger, I'll have a burger, or if I want to have this,
We had big burgers. I had a burger with waffle fries on my burger last night. Like
And
if
an
that's
egg.
not balance,
And
and
an
an egg and some bacon. Like if that's not balance, I don't know what it is. Like
no, but
it's not about being perfect all the time.
and then you wake up today and it's like it's okay.
Yep.
You don't even think twice about it.
Nope. And I don't feel guilty about it. Like guilt around food is not the way to go. I feel like most of the time I aim to eat a certain way. We'll call it healthy, but nutrient dense whole foods because it makes me feel good. I have energy. I feel like I can do the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And when I eat things that are maybe not the best choices, not even like a burger, I don't feel guilty about that at all. But if I go and like I eat a bunch of pizza or something, my body tells me it doesn't like it because I'm so used to giving it the things that make it feel good that when I eat something like that or I go eat a bunch of fried food, my body goes, we don't like this. Same thing with drinking. Like I'll drink heavily very sporadically, and I remember why I don't do it often.
Every 6 months.
Yeah, like once every 6 months. And then I'm like, this is horrible. Why did I do that? I'm hungover for 3 days.
Yeah.
And it just makes me realize like how many people are probably sitting out there, maybe listening to this, that don't actually know what it feels like to feel good and how powerful it can be when you get to that place where you say, you know what, I prioritize sleep and water and protein and whole foods and exercise and I feel good every day. Like it's not hard for me to stick to my routine, to stick to the things that I do every day because they make me feel good. Like I don't need someone that's like, hey, go to the gym today or hey, get enough sleep or drink enough water. I do them without question because they are habits and they make me feel good. It's as simple as that. Honestly.
Exactly. And for sure, one thing you said is whenever something that worked for you before that's not working for you now, like I feel like a lot of people like to, if they started something, because there's people out there that they just fluctuate over and over and over again, and it's because they're falling off and they're going back on and they're falling off, right? But the body also changes throughout like life. You can have not had a tolerance before, and then you could have created a tolerance over time, or you could have had a metabolism or metabolic rate that is like 2400, right? And then now it's like 16, all because of your certain lifestyle. So your body will change throughout time. And as that being said, you need to make sure that either you're taking care of yourself to the point to where you're aware of this and you know what's going on, or how to like change as you change.
Yeah. And like listening to your body, like I tell people that all the time, like even if you're eating something that's quote unquote healthy, if it doesn't make you feel good, then it's not a good choice for you. Like I would fight for like the longest time. Like there's certain veggies, like my body just doesn't like them. Like I don't feel good when I eat them, and I don't have to feel bad about that. I just eat other things, So just paying attention to those cues that your body's giving you, and realizing that maybe something worked for you in the past. Like I get a ton of people, well, low carb used to work for me and now it doesn't. Well, your body's changed. It's different now. Your metabolism is a fluctuating thing. It's not, that's another big common misconception. Oh, I was born with a slow metabolism. My genetics have a slow metabolism.
I love when people say that one.
Yes, there is a genetic basis for a portion of metabolism, but your metabolism is also very fluid. Like I guarantee you, when I came off of doing bodybuilding shows and being very calorically restricted for a prolonged period, my metabolism was garbage. Like, I wish I had the test results to prove that. But I guarantee you now, over years and years of strength training and eating in a calorie surplus to be able to build muscle, you know, now I have a lot more muscle mass, so it takes a lot more calories just to sustain my body, not even to fuel performance. So, you know, yes, I can eat 3,000 calories a day now and not gain weight, but that's because I have muscle and years of working up to that. It's not because all of a sudden, like, I've been eating this way my entire life. You know, you can really give your body different cues and it will adapt. But you have to do that consistently. It can't be something overnight. It's not a quick fix. And I think just impatience is people's biggest downfall. Like, I want results now. I've done my diet for 2 weeks. Why don't I have a six pack? You know, it's like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
it's a long process.
Right. And whenever people, it's so crazy because mostly females. I train a lot of females, right? So females get so scared to train the way, I guess you would say, a guy would or whatever. But they feel like if they were to train like this, they would get big and bulky, right? But one thing that is like, I don't even know how you would say it, but people want to they don't like to go on diets because they want to eat what they want to eat, right? Okay, so because you just said it. So if you build muscle, okay, you build muscle and you have more muscle on your body, then you have to eat more to maintain that muscle, to just maintain it. Maintain as in, like, if you gain 2 pounds of muscle, you need to eat this much more to maintain that 2 pounds of muscle that you gain. So that's going to open the door of having the luxury of eating more.
Sure.
So if you are someone that enjoys food, then we're not saying you have to let go of these things.
No.
I feel like when other people are looking into this fitness world, you know, it's like, oh, these guys, you know, and girls, they just eat like nothing but chicken, rice, broccoli, and they train heavy, and these girls are freaking like lean and mean, and like if I lift, you know, if I do this much on squat, like I'm gonna have big bulky legs like these guys and stuff, and it's like
it doesn't happen like that.
It doesn't happen, exactly. It doesn't happen. It's beautiful whenever you just you attempt, just try this one time. Try this one time. You know, just take a day and try to do something different. And if that difference is you going for a walk or a run, or you want to do some yoga, some stretching, and you feel those things that come into your body, those endorphins, the chemical reactions that happen in your brain that make your body happy and feel good. That's why it's like, I always push just to start. Like, just start.
Yeah.
Because and just start now. And everyone's now is going to be at a different time, you know, because ours, well, I can't even say ours because my shit was like, it happened when I was 5, because that's when I started doing sports. But when you're dealing with people that have problem with weight loss or like trying to build confidence with themselves, because I know how hard it is to look in the mirror and not like what you see. You know, I know how it is to put yourself down. Even as athletes, we do that too. You know, if we can't perform a certain way, then we're our worst critics, man. Like, if I can't get this, then maybe I'm not meant to be, you know, like it's not meant to happen. But if you have been saying, I'm going to start this New Year's resolution for the past 10 years, then maybe this year will be your time. You know, like maybe this would be your time. I have learned as a coach that I can't push people to start. And I don't know if you've experienced this too, but if people come out to reach out for you, right? Hey, can you help me with this? Oh yeah, of course I can help you with this. But if you don't want to make that initiative to say in your head, like, this is where I change. This is where it changes. Then you're not going to be successful in it, you know. And that your now could be 5 months later, or it could be a year later. But finding like your now and your moment is specific to every person.
Yeah, and just getting started, and exactly what you're saying. Like, I cannot. It's great to hire a coach, whether that's, you know, conditioning, strength, nutrition, whatever it might be. But they're just a resource. You ultimately have to put in the work. And I tell people that, like, I run 8-week challenges, and I love helping people with nutrition and exercise and being a sounding board for them. But ultimately, like, I will have people where I tell them for 8 weeks straight, hey, I need you to hit your protein goal, and I can give you all the resources. I can give you a meal plan. I can give you everything, all the tools, but you have to do it. I can't prep food for you. I can't make you eat it every day. I can't make you want to be consistent. You have to make that choice, and you have to realize it is a choice. It's not a product of being busy. It's not a product of other obstacles. The reality is we're all busy. We all have hurdles, and you know, you have to make it a choice. You know, busy. It's like everyone is busy.
guys.
In this day and age, everybody is busy.
Yeah.
So it is a choice. Like, yes, does that mean you may have to sacrifice something else to make that a priority? Absolutely. But that is a choice. And ultimately, you have to decide that you want to do something strongly enough to make that a priority. You know, and I think that's also why, like, it's important to know what your why is for doing something. So, you know, we were talking about like doing things for yourself. Like if you want to change your body composition because you want to be stronger and you want to feel more confident, or you want to be able to play with your kids, or all those things, those are great reasons. But if you're doing something just because you think somebody else will like you more, it's not a strong enough why. And I even have a lot of people who say, well, I just need to weigh, I'm this weight now and I need to weigh this X amount of pounds. And I'll dig deeper and say, why? Why do you need to be that weight?
Yeah.
Like what it is about that? Well, that's what I think I should be doing. Like says who? Like that's a societal, you know, structure that like it doesn't make any sense. It's not founded on anything. And I've been there. So that's why I like to challenge people, because I can promise you now, most people look at me and they probably don't realize that I weigh as much as I do. And that like I will show pictures of when I weighed 5 or even 10 pounds lighter, but I had a lot higher body fat. I did not have the body composition that I do now, and I'm way happier now. So like the scale doesn't matter. I haven't weighed myself in 6 months because I just don't care. It doesn't, it's not meaningful to me. And ultimately what people don't realize is we get stuck on the scale, what the scale says, and we're too scared to see the scale go up. But like a lot of times the I don't even want to say ideal, the body composition that people are looking for involves losing a little body fat and building muscle, and muscle weighs more. So you have to be okay maybe seeing the scale go up, but ultimately you're probably going to find that you're in a happier spot in the long run.
Right.
And also building muscle is hard. Like
absolutely.
Like I'm going to get bulky. Like if you have that mindset, 100% you're never going to be bulky because you have no concept of what it takes to actually build muscle.
That's so funny you say that. That's so funny you say that, because it's like I'm nervous to get bulky, and it's like, bro, I've been trying to
get bulky my whole life. Like, I mean, I lift as heavy as I can to get as strong as I can
to tear down these fibers, man. Yeah,
you know, but it's not easy. Like if you are worried about that, you're never gonna get there.
And you can't. If you could build, if you're telling me right now I could lift weight and just get bulky, I'd fucking do it, dude.
You would be a billionaire. You know how many people would love if that was what the truth was. Yeah.
But then you're not even thinking about the nutritional aspect that you need to gain that muscle.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's a really big misconception. Well, I want to lose weight, but I want to build muscle. Like, I'm sorry, guys, that doesn't happen. Like,
lose fat and build muscle. Got it.
Like, yeah, but like you have to be eating at least at a maintenance calorie range to see any type of muscle growth, like at minimum. And most people need to be in a surplus. So you've got to realize, like, don't come in saying, hey, like, I don't want to eat over 2,000 calories, but I want to build muscle. Like it for most people, it's not going to happen. It's not.
And it's like
it's just not.
What do you do as a coach? Like, it's so hard to, like, because we get these questions a lot. I get them a lot all the time. Yeah. And it's like, how can you not really convince someone, but educate someone on, I want to lose weight and get toned, but I don't want to lift heavy weights. Yeah. You know, because it's going to get me bulky, right? And it's like, okay, well, how can I educate you on understanding that you're going to have to go against everything that you think is what is true, and you're going to have to do the opposite. Yep. And get your body to where you want it to be at. Yeah. And I think just proving over time, right? Like you said, these 8-week
practice what you preach, and having, you know, being a role model, showing those real life things and processes, like, you know, I think that helps. And then, yeah, if you get some people that trust you and follow the process, and then other people can see that, I think ultimately that kind of helps. But yeah, it's not easy because we're fighting against years and years of social pressures that are total bullshit.
Dude, absolutely. 100%.
Fad diets, you know, I want to tone by doing body weight exercise. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing that, but the results are not what people think they are. But I mean, I blame culture and media
for all that stuff. Absolutely.
For just BS, you know.
We talked about it yesterday, and I made an episode on this a while ago, but how we're born into the world designed to fail when it comes down to health. Mm-hmm. And I truly do believe that. I truly do believe that we are, because even if you just think about it, like from the day that you're born, obviously you're either breastfed or given formula, right? And then as you begin to go through the learning stages of like learning how to use motor skills, and your brain is absorbing everything that you're seeing, and then you're going into school and you're going to all these other things, you have your parents, and if your parents aren't, and it's no one's fault, right? People are, if you're not educated, then you're not educated.
Yep.
But if you don't want to pursue it to educate yourself to then help generations to come, then we're always going to be stuck in this spot as like a society as a whole. But whenever you go into school, like how many health classes are there, or how many nutritional classes are there, or even like physical education now? Like people don't even want to, kids don't want to change into their whatever to go and do some sort of physical activity that teaches them how to use. And then that person goes and grows up 10 years down the line, and they are having to go to chiropractors and then PTs and having to get knee replacements, all this stuff, all because they didn't take the time to learn movement, to learn how to like use their body mechanics. And same thing with food. Then we start to grow up and become obese and then sit at a 9 to 5 job and at a desk job, and like your full day's worth of nutritional value consists of McDonald's breakfast, snacks at lunch, and then dinner is like chips.
Honestly, it's sad, and you're right. I mean, there's so many issues, foundational issues, especially in our country, of, lack of food education, making healthy food is so expensive.
If they would implement that, it would be, we would stop obesity, we would stop diabetes, we would stop a lot of inflammation injuries or illnesses that cause people to go to the hospital and get medicated, like to get prescribed some sort of medicine to help them still live the life that they live, even though they're doing stuff wrong.
Yeah, but it's like, it's a broken system because the system is designed, like you said, to set us up for failure, because that's how they make money. Like if we wanted to change, we could make healthier food less expensive. We could promote food education. We could stop putting, like I get so ticked off whenever I'm at like the grocery store and like you see next to the checkout, like just candy and cheap stuff. Like they make cheap food, crappy food, and that's like a bigger societal issue. But I think ultimately the government in our country, they don't want to change, because if we're sick, that means we pay more in the long run, whether that's through chronic illness, whether that's going and having back pain and needing to get an opioid medication. Like that's part of how the system thrives, so there's no big push to make a change because they don't want us healthy. That means that we're going to absorb less healthcare and we're going to cost less. We're going to save them, save too much money.
I was just thinking right now when you were saying that, like imagine a world that we live in, right? Just imagine a world where the only types of people that were going to the hospital were people that were injured from a car accident, a fall, or something, like truly injured, right?
Not chronic health issues from crappy food and lack of exercise.
Imagine, but then imagine how much we would maybe even become worse as a society. Like we might even crash, because who knows how much we make as a country just from healthcare.
Yeah.
That's not even there to help you. It's just there to do, I don't even know what, man. I don't even know what it does.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's baffling to me.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like we have, for all the things we learn in school, there's no food education. There's no, even just life skills in general. I mean, we were talking about like finances and things totally unrelated to this conversation.
Stuff that you use,
but
though.
I feel like we're set up for failure. Like we spend so much time and energy learning things that really maybe serve some value in your life, but aren't practical knowledge. And there's like, I'm constantly on a daily basis baffled with how little people even understand about food and exercise, but that's not their fault. That's a lack of education.
Right, no, exactly.
And it's so powerful. Exactly. So, if we can even, that's been one of my big motivators to be more present on social media and to put good content out there, content that I consider good, that's just real, legitimate information, because we don't need any more BS. We don't need any more fad diets. We don't need all of that. We need real, legitimate information and people to start to absorb that, so that maybe at some point we'll start turning the cycle the other way and people will teach their kids and then kind of grow from there. But it has to be a conscious choice. Like you have to want to learn and you have to want to be better off. And I think there's still a lot of people who don't want to put the effort in to do that.
To do it. Exactly. Effort. That's a good word. Effort is like, it takes a lot of effort to do what we do. It takes a lot of effort just to do this, but then it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't look at it as a burden, but it is effort. It is intentional. Like everything in my day is intentional. I don't just do it because it's easy for me. It's easy for me because I've built it as a habit, and that's, if you know anything about habits, it takes consistency and doing it enough times to where it just becomes second nature, and I think people don't realize how many things that they do every day that are habits that maybe they don't even realize are habits, but they're just accustomed to doing. But that's also powerful knowledge, meaning that you can add positive habits into your life fairly easily if you are dedicated enough to make it a habit.
Right. Yeah, see, I think it's like 70 or 80% or some high percentage, definitely over half, is decisions that are already made up for you without even thinking about it.
Yep.
The way you put on shoes, the way you open the door, the way you drive and get into a car, and like the same route you take to work or the same route you take to whatever.
You do it without even thinking about it. And that's a lot of the things that we look at as just part of our routine. Other people look at as, oh my gosh, how do you do that every day? Like, I just do it. It's part of my routine. It's no different than everything you're saying. That, hey, you wake up, you turn your alarm off, you get up, you take a shower, you brush your teeth. Like, those are all habits that happen in sequence every day. Exercise for us is no different from that. It's just part of the routine.
How would you help someone that is that's having trouble with letting go of a bad habit? Like, whenever you get someone that has like a bad habit of just a bad habit of always having sweets after every meal, or like just a bad habit that just brings like negativity to okay, let's talk about negative or toxic environments, toxic people.
Yeah.
Have you had to deal with clients or people that that you see that they are failing, or that they're coming off, or they're quitting and then coming back because of the type of environment that they're in?
Yeah, I actually talk about that with people a lot, and I think identifying the trigger is the first step. So I would say there's kind of 3 different categories. Like, so when we're just talking about, okay, somebody who eats a bunch of sweets. So I see people who are emotional eaters. So maybe they're having anxiety or stress in their life that's unmanaged. And what they're not realizing is that they're using that food as the anxiety or the stress is the trigger that's causing them to eat as an emotional response. So we'll talk about hey, identify that stress and let's find a positive outlet that's not that. Because ultimately, you may think, okay, I'm stressed, I'm gonna eat a cupcake and I'm gonna feel better, but then you end up feeling doubly worse because you didn't deal with the root of the problem and then you made a negative choice, which makes you feel even crappier in the long run. So saying, hey, the next time you feel stressed and you want to eat a cupcake, go for a walk, meditate, replace that. So I think just saying stop doing something is not powerful enough. You've got to replace it with something else that's going to be as consistent that they can do to kind of replace that. The next one I think is people, I look at especially food triggers as maybe they're not getting enough of something in their day that's causing them to do that. So with sweets, to me that says your body's craving glucose, sugar, and that means you're probably not getting enough whole food carbs throughout your day. So you're craving that because your body's like, give me the simplest version to get this into my body because I need more. So a lot of times I'll increase people's carbohydrates, and the goal is to get them whole fruits and veggies, sweet potatoes, rice, oatmeal. And the minute that they start actually eating more consistently and getting enough protein, getting enough good quality carbs, they stop craving those things at night. Yeah. So that's kind of that. And then third case is, I think people who are kind of set up for failure because they're in an environment where either they're surrounded by those sources, so it's hard to make a decision to not do something if it's sitting in front of you. If we had a plate of cookies here, I'm not going to say I'm not going to sit here and eat one because it's just right here.
I'm going to fucking touch one.
But if it's not here.
But then I would say, yo, if Kelly eats one, I'll eat one.
Get it out of here, So, but eliminating those easy temptations. Don't have cookies in your house. Don't allow yourself to have those things readily available. And maybe that even means having conversations with family members or spouses and saying, you know what, this is important to me. So I'm asking for your support to not put me in that environment. Don't bring me home cupcakes, where maybe they think that's them being nice, but if it's sabotaging your goals, it's not being supportive. Right. So, having those conversations, and those can be tough, but, well, how do I go to a barbecue and I don't, how am I not going to eat all the food that, my family cooks? You communicate those things and then you make intentional choices. And if they love and support you, they'll support and realize that you're doing it to better yourself.
Every outcome that you've created is all based on the actions you've taken throughout your life to make you who you are today. Yep. But definitely for sure, if you start making these positive changes, you'll see who has always been there for you.
Oh, absolutely. And it is actually baffling. I have cut people out of my life or made them less a priority in my life if they don't support the things that I'm working towards. You know, like if I have friends who don't understand that I don't want to go out and get drunk every night and I want to sleep and I want to exercise every day and they look down upon that, you're not a good fit in my life at this point. So I can respect you as a person and realize that you do what you do and I do what I do. But those aren't going to be people that I choose to spend and dedicate my time to because they just don't get it and they don't support the lifestyle that's important to me. Like I'm intentional about what I do and it's because I like to perform and do all the things we've been talking about. So the people who I dedicate my time to, they understand why I'm doing what I'm doing and they support that. And I think that's important.
I like where we're going here. So with and we talked about it earlier too, but I guess that we can help people like kind of like break down how can you tell, right, if people are giving you value, right? So there's like multiple levels of how people can bring value to your life. And we're not saying like if someone doesn't support you physically that you have to cut them out. If they support you somehow emotionally, then keep them there for the emotional value they bring into your life, right? Or if someone supports you spiritually, then keep that value there for your spiritual health or whatever, you know, or then mental and then physical. And then maybe you have people who give you everything that are there for you no matter if you have quit 1,000 times and this might be the actual time that you might be successful in what you're doing. And they've always been there to support you, right? So it's I think the biggest types of people that I had to let go of were people that didn't understand what I wanted to do. Like didn't respect the actions I wanted to take or even just respect the goal alone. So if I want to do something and you'd say, okay, well, you know, this could happen wrong or this can be wrong too. Like, you know, or if you do this, like, aren't you scared to like fail or like, you know, or you don't have any experience in this. How do you know you're going to do good? And it's like, okay, once you see people in your life, whenever you want to make a change and they're giving you negativity and it's just pure negativity, like no sort of like, instead of saying, hey, well, you have no experience in this, like what are some things that you can learn to help you, you know, like, or how can I help you? Or there's something I can help you with.
How can I help support you?
Exactly. So like whenever you start seeing these flags, I guess, come up in your life, you can pinpoint who it is that you're going to keep close to you because first of all, they'll stay and they'll support you and they'll ask you how you're doing and they'll ask you like how successful you've been. They'll be checking in on you even though it's not their priority to check in on you, but they're doing it because they care for you. And they can do it over and over again. I think the people that you surround yourself with, I forget this guy's name, but he's a very wealthy guy and he's older, but he basically say, show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and like you're a product of like the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I mean, it's so true. Yeah, show me your friend. Like, if you're surrounding yourself constantly with negativity and people who don't support what you're doing and they don't have a growth mindset, like it's ultimately going to hinder you. So like you can still, you know, be a friend from afar, but it's so true. Like there's another quote that's like, nobody who's doing more than you is going to criticize you for doing too much. You know, like it's only people who are stuck in their lives that are going to criticize you for going after your goals because it makes them self-conscious of what they're not doing. And I'm like, it's so true. Like I can't tell you how many people have given me negativity, like, why do you spend so much time on social media and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I mean, I do it to give value and I don't absorb a lot of social media. I'm more of a giver. But if you're judging me for that, like, that's a problem on you. Like, you're not looking at the bigger picture and what value that I'm able to give to other people.
That's like 1% of my day. Like, that's barely a little piece of what I'm doing, like what I'm really trying to do.
Sure.
And that's crazy, dude. Show me your friend. I forget who that guy's name is.
I know.
Dude, but I like what you said, too. That was a good one.
Yeah. No, it really is true. And I think it's so hard to just acknowledge and believe that, you know, like maybe a relationship, friendship, otherwise served you at one part of your life. But if it doesn't serve you anymore, like you're okay. Like you can let them go or you can change that dynamic. You can set boundaries. And I think a lot of people still feel like they have to maintain relationships that don't serve them anymore. And like I got to a point where I was like, time is the most valuable thing to me. Why am I giving time to things and people who don't give anything back to me. And it's not always like a straight give and take, but like just like you're saying, if I'm not getting any value and spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and all it is just a drain, like that's not serving me anymore, and I'm not gonna give my time to that person anymore. And that's okay. Like we don't have to feel even family members. I think that is a really tough one. And I'm fortunate that I have a very supportive family and I don't feel like I have to make that choice. But I know people who have to say, you know what, like I need to distance myself from X family member because they're not supporting the goals that I have. And like, I mean, how tough is it to be, and I have situations like this, like I want to be better for myself and my spouse doesn't support me and they're trying to self-sabotage me because they don't want to change their life. Like that's really sad, and I don't envy those types of scenarios.
No, and I can only imagine how hard that would be, you know, because you're in it. Like,
yeah, and I see it a lot, and I get that feedback from people of just feeling like they're not supportive by people that are supposed to love and care for them, and I'm like, that is really tough.
You just gotta think of it as like, this is your life. Like there's no one else if you get sick, no one's gonna feel those symptoms but you. If you go through pain, no one's gonna feel that but you. So you're the only one that's gonna feel anything from any sort of outcome that you get.
Yeah.
So then be selfish with your health, man. Be selfish with the action
and
you take.
ultimately, like I truly believe that if you take care of yourself, you're going to be able to serve and help other people much better. Like if I make myself a priority and I'm the healthiest, happiest version of myself, I'm going to be able to be more present in my job and, you know, in relationships and helping others, because and it's something I struggle with on a consistent basis of making sure that I make myself a priority and I take time for myself, because if I'm not mentally healthy or physically healthy or any of those things, I'm not going to be able to help people forever, you know? And so I think that's really important too.
Yeah, 100%. You know, one thing that I used to always think of is like my circle's too small, but like, and I used to have to feel that I needed to get a bigger circle. And then that forced me, because I went through a fluctuation with this too. And like, I got my circle small to the point to where I had like one person. And then I was like, well, I need to just create different relationships. Yeah. And then I just started bringing in people that didn't bring in value.
Just people for the sake of people. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's, you as human beings, you have connections with other people that, even that you might not even be able to explain it, like subconscious, I guess, not even subconscious, maybe like spiritually or emotionally. You could be, you know, because why do you think people have created those signs, like being a Leo or being a Virgo or Cancer, right? Because these things are like true. So even if someone, and this is really cool to do, because I feel like if you just take time out of your day to really just like jump out of your body for a second and just like observe, and if you have, and you could just do this for a day, like just give yourself a day, okay? Like if you are already doing what you're doing in life, you can give some time out of your day to do this real quick. But, you know, if you just like kind of like analyze, even the words people tell you, like how did you respond, or how do you feel from what someone said? And is that causing you to, because some people might even do it without even thinking about it. Someone might say something to someone, and that person is now all of a sudden feeling that they need to have some sort of sweet, or they need to have some sort of like food. And then that could be, obviously, like you were saying earlier, emotional trigger, right? But they might not even know until someone tells them like, hey, you
were triggered by this.
Yeah, this is happening to you. So, and I think that's what's so scary, because we also talked about the other day, like people are believing things so blindly. And whenever it comes down to your health, and you're following things and you're doing things and reacting to things so blindly without even knowing that you're doing it, I think that's scary, because we are losing like touch with ourselves. Like, who cares about other people at the moment? You know, like, worry about you and like try to connect and line up your body so that, how you said, if you are doing everything you can in your power to take care of your body, health, mind, you know, everything that you have, you can give back to other people, right? So I think that's what people should be focusing on, is really just taking care of who they are. And I feel like this is not hard. Like, yes, me and Kelly were talking about tons of different things. And we're talking about finding your circle, and we're talking about freaking healthcare and how the world's set up for failure. I don't want you to be sitting in your chair or in your car right now, going to work or washing dishes, and you're like, dude, I can't. This episode is messing with my head.
Debbie Downers over here.
And it's not that hard, but someone has to make you realize that these are things that are around you, right?
Yeah.
And I like to share experience. I like to share stories. I like to bring you guys on the show, because you guys you've experienced a life that I haven't experienced.
Yep.
So you're bringing new things to me that I have not experienced. Like Kelly says some crazy shit sometimes. I'm like, dude, I never even thought of that. I never even thought of thinking of it like that.
Yeah.
And I think that is what is the most powerful thing with breaking up the toxic environments that you might be in, even like things you have on the walls or music you listen to or whatever, and then inviting new people inside your life. And I think that can change a lot.
Yeah, well, and something I've realized, and especially like interacting with you all weekend, how much I value people who push me and push boundaries and maybe come from a totally different opinion on something, and we can talk through those things and have conversations. Because the other thing I realize is I don't just want people in my life that just tell me what I want to hear all the time. Like I need the people who have served me the best, especially within the last year or two of my life where I feel like I've grown, are people who push me to be better. They tell me when I need to stop whining and suck it up. They tell me, they support me when I really need it. But I think we don't necessarily, you don't need the person. If you're someone that says, you know, I need to lose weight and I need to do this, and you have people that are just like, no, you don't need to do that. Like, just eat whatever you want. Like
you're beautiful, or
yeah, and it's like there's something to say, like, yeah, I'm gonna have self-love, but part of self-love is taking care of yourself, and that's something that I've realized too. Like, I support health, and that doesn't. So I'm body positive, but I'm not body positive in the sense that I think you should just shovel food and be unhealthy and justify that as being okay. So it's like a difference for me. But
yeah, no, absolutely.
you know, but also just having those people that are going to hold you accountable to what you say is important to you. Like I don't want to surround myself with people who just tell me what I want to hear all the time. Like
I know.
It sounds great on paper, but ultimately that's not going to allow me to be successful with everything that I'm trying to do. Like I need people that push me and challenge me to be better and to question my thoughts and to be accountable. Like 100% accountable is something that I strive to be, where I say, you know what, like I wasn't successful at this, but that was because I set myself up for failure. I didn't do what I needed to do to be successful. I'm really big on self-accountability and self-awareness, and failing to acknowledge that sets people up for failure. If you say, well, this external factor came in and allowed me to not be successful, successful. Like, I meant to eat healthy, but so-and-so brought this to the office, and so then I just couldn't do it. Like that is a victim mindset, and you have to acknowledge that, like, and say, you know what, like, I was proud of myself because I made a goal with myself to eat healthier. Somebody brought sweets into the office and I chose not to eat them. Like that is ultimately how you're going to be successful, is making intentional choices and realizing that almost everything we do on a daily basis is a choice. And if you choose to be accountable, you can see progress and results. But if you choose to be a victim, you're going to be a victim forever.
And it's like, how are you going to be in the next few years? Like that's what I think about a lot, is like, because I don't know why, but I can't wait until I'm 42. I feel like when I'm 42,
why 42?
I think when I'm 42, like I'm going to be like, not even
thriving.
At my peak, but like I'm gonna be like there. Like I'm gonna be like.
That's so random, but okay.
I don't know why it's 42. It's always been 42 with me. It's always been 42 to be like, that's gonna be like, I don't know why I feel like it's gonna be a strong year. And then 104 is where I'm making it to. Like that's where I'm making it to. So I always think like, how is Matt gonna be when I'm 42? Like I think about it a lot, and it is a weird number. I don't know why I think about that, but like, how am I going to be with my grandkids, or how am I going to be with other people I interact with? How am I going to be able, how much growth have I'm not even going to talk about like business or company or financial. How much growth am I going to have created at that moment in time? Because there's so many things you could be scared of in this world, and so many excuses you could make to not start, right? But the biggest thing that I've always been scared of is to, actually not always. So my grandma got diagnosed with cancer whenever I was in high school, like junior year or senior year of high school. And then she got hospice at home, and then she passed away in our house, right? So whenever I saw that is whenever it happened. Because my grandma did a lot in her life, and she did a lot for me as being like her own grandson. And but now whenever I go through my life, like I want to finish this life with knowing that I did everything that I could to just live it.
Yeah, to just live and be present.
To just live and be present. And I don't want to ever look back and think I couldn't go to my son's game because I was too busy with something or something else. Like I want him to be a priority. I want like my family to be a priority. I want my people in my circle to be a priority. And if I can't go and perform and do something because I'm not taking care of myself or I'm not prioritizing these things, then I feel like I'm not living my life to the fullest. And that's always just my biggest fear. And when it comes down to like taking care of myself, like having a nice physique is cool, right? It's cool. So I can go to the beach or whatever. We go to the pool and I can take off my shirt and it's like whatever.
Yeah.
And you get compliments and I don't care who you are, but those things feel good, you know? So, but then that's just that's a percent, a 0.5%, if even, not even anything of just what the rest of it actually consists of. And I feel like, you know, I do a lot with my days now, especially when it comes down to what I put inside my body, what I put inside my life or my mind overall, that is going to affect me in the next few years, you know, because I feel like it's like chess. Like any move that you make is going to affect either you're going to lose or you're going to win.
Yeah.
So
either moving in the right direction or moving in the
wrong
direction.
And
either way, you're moving. So
exactly. And exactly. There's no like stagnant. Mm-hmm. You're either falling down or you're going up.
Yeah.
So I think if you view life like that, man, like I'm either not giving value to my life or I'm giving value to my life. There's no like there's no like being a straight line.
Yeah.
You know, it's either you're progressing or you're declining. It's
Yeah.
one of the two. So I like to think of like every single day and everything that I do, like how is this going to, because another thing that scares me too is like people are creating things inside their body right now. They have no idea what's happening, right? Like you could be creating a blood clot somewhere. And you might not even know it. And it could be because you're living a bad health lifestyle.
Yep.
Right? And those things are scary when you think about it. So, like, that's why I always try to prioritize. I think that's one of my biggest reasons why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Is obviously to give back. And, like, and I just feel better whenever I do what I do.
Yeah.
And then also that. I never want to be in a situation where I did this to myself.
Yeah. Like, there's always... There's inevitably going to be somebody who responds and says, well, like, but crazy things just happen. Like, you can get into a car accident.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But, like, I want to be in control of the things that I have control over, you know, and I want to maximize those things. And, yes, I could walk outside today and get in a car accident and die. But I know that I did everything that I could to live the life that I want to live. And I see you doing it like with your son and being a good role model for him. I think there's so much value in that. Like there are so many people who say, oh, well, I want to be healthy, but I have kids and like they're my priority. I promise you, if you take care of yourself, that doesn't mean neglect your kids, but make them part of that journey. If they see you being healthy and active and making yourself a priority, it's going to pay dividends in their life too.
Oh, absolutely. So. You know, so there is mother's mom guilt out there.
100%.
I never knew
that. I know it's real. I can't say I've experienced it. Obviously, I'm not a mom, but I see it all the time of I can't make myself a priority because I'm a mom.
I never knew that even existed until I had a girl on the show, Katie Oakley. She was the first person to tell me about it. And I was like, what the hell is mom guilt? And then I'm like, are you like guilty of just being a mom or what's up? And then, you know, she's like, no, it's like, because she would wake up. She had to take her kids to school at like 6:30 or 7, I think, or something like that. So she would wake up at like 4:30, take her kids to the gym, have them be there as she finishes her hour workout, and then take them to school.
Yep.
So she prioritized her health, her body for 1 hour of the day. 1 hour of the day. And people would say, well, why are you getting your kids up early like that? Like, you should let them sleep, you know? Or you think it's good for them to just be sitting around at the gym? Like, they could be doing something else, you know? Or like, why are you going to go spend time in the gym? You could be spending time with your kids.
Oh,
and it's
that's
like
terrible. Oh my gosh.
And I'm hearing this. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that's real. There's no way that makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but it is. I know that's real.
Yeah. So then I'm like thinking to myself too, like, dude, that's crazy. And there's so many people that go through that stuff, and they let it overpower them.
Yep.
You know, and but like you said, like, how can, yes, you're taking an hour out of your day, but that 1 hour can drastically transform the way they think about
and it
themselves.
can give you more energy to be more present in their life the rest of the day. Like there's so many positive impacts. And even if it means, like I've told people, I don't care if you're in your living room and you do a 10-minute workout with your kids doing it with you. I promise you that's still better than doing nothing.
That's fitness. You did what I did today.
Yeah.
Just mine was, you know, deadlifts for whatever and doing this circuit or whatever. But
something is still better than nothing. And I think, again, that comes back to that all or nothing mindset that sabotages a lot of people with nutrition. Same thing with exercise. I'd rather you say, you know what, I got a 10-minute workout in today, or I went for a 15-minute walk, than I didn't do anything at all. Like, something is always better than nothing.
I actually have a good question for you, because I want to know from you. Because I feel like sometimes I'm in this world and I'm like, am I the only person that feels this way? So when it comes down to like you doing, you know who you are, you know what you want, right?
Yep.
So whenever you're around people, your friends and stuff like that, and you say no to something, and you say no to alcohol, or you say no to a certain dessert, or you just say no just because you just don't want it, right?
Yep.
I just don't want that.
Yep.
It's that simple. And not because my health
Yep.
or whatever. I just don't want it.
Yep.
All right. And do you feel like you get judged or look different? Do you feel like you're thinking of how they think of you, and you think that they're thinking that you are too like higher on a pedestal than they are?
Yeah, like people don't get it. And I get little, I mean, I make choices like that all the time. And like I'm trying to, like holidays or something, you know, like I remember, so for 4th of July this year, I was finishing up a CrossFit online qualifier. So on the 4th of July, and I was getting messages from people that were like, why aren't you drunk? It's 4th of July. Like, why are you doing fitness? And I'm like, you don't understand me, you know, like I don't need, yes, like sometimes I choose to drink, but a lot of times I choose not to because I just don't want to. And like, I don't need to feel judged for those. But yeah, it's just a lack of like, just people just don't understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and that, you know, it's easy to say no to things that don't make me feel good, and maybe that's not typical for somebody else, but for me it's a choice every day.
I feel like weird. I feel like I'm like
Like what?
yeah, like I feel like whenever I say something like that, like they think that I'm too uptight or something.
Yeah, like, oh, like why wouldn't you just like, why didn't
Like,
you go out
you can't
more?
have a French fry, you know, you're gonna.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I can, and I do,
Yeah.
but like I'm intentional about the things that I do. And like for me, it's always, if I'm going to eat something I know is not going to make me feel good, it's, for me, it's not that I'm worried I'm going to gain weight or something. It's not going to make me feel very good. And so it better be like, I need to mentally prepare for that. It's like pizza. Let's talk about pizza. Like, I love pizza, don't get me wrong, but it makes me feel like garbage. So I'm not going to just go eat pizza at Domino's just for the sake of it. Like, I'm going to seek out the best pizza that's going to be worth it, because I'm going to need to lay down after. And I'm going to, not that I'm going to regret it, but I know I'm not going to feel great. So, you know, it's not going to be something I do 3 days a week. You know, I'm going to be very strategic about it, and I don't do it often because it's just the benefits that I get from it don't often outweigh the consequences.
No, absolutely.
But it doesn't feel like I'm missing out on things, and I think that's what people.
Okay, good. Yes.
Yeah, it's like they think like, oh, because you're not going and getting drunk every Friday and Saturday night, that you're like missing out on life. And I'm like, I promise you,
you're missing out on life.
Yes, I'm like, I am gaining so many more things in my life from the value that I get doing these other things. It's just different from what your choices are. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't judge people if they want to go out and drink 2 nights a week. The only difference being if somebody says, hey, I want to live more of the lifestyle that you live, or I want to change my body composition, and they're not setting themselves up for success, like, I'm going to tell you, like, what you're doing is not supporting the goals that you say that you have. So just be honest with yourself about those things.
Right. Yeah, I used to always think like that. Like, am I going to regret not doing this for like when 5 years passes by? Like, why didn't I turn up with my friends back in the day or something like that? And I always think like, I used to always think like that, but then you have those incidents where you go do that with your friends, and it's like, okay, nah,
this is why I don't do this.
Yeah, like it was, I guess it was fun in the moment, but like, no, you pay for it more.
Yeah, and like you can find a way to be balanced. Like I like a good glass of red wine. I like a margarita, and I have those things fairly often, honestly. Like, yes, I have periods in my season where I don't really drink, but like off season, you know, I probably had more beverages than people realize. But it's still like, for the most part, I feel better if I'm balanced and I'm not doing it super often, because I just don't need to. Like, it doesn't, the benefit that I get from having 7 margaritas versus 1 is, there's no benefit. Like, it doesn't add value to my life. You know, for me, it's more the, when I'm really in my main seasons, I miss out on feeling like I'm connected to people socially. Right. And so that's really the bigger piece. But that doesn't have to, we think it has to be around food and beverages, and that's a societal construction. You can still do things that aren't centered around those, and you can still say, hey, I'm going to hang out with X people, but I'm not going to drink heavily. Like, that's a choice, and you can still do that. It just may not be what other people are used to.
Right.
But
absolutely, 100%, man. That's be social, to be connected to people.
Yeah. And that's important, you know. I think especially with COVID and quarantine and everything, and like everyone is craving social interaction. So I totally get that. And it's so tempting right now to just want to go out all the time because we couldn't do that for like an entire year. And there's still lots of areas now that are closing back up again. And so, you know, I totally get the wanting to go sit out and be at a restaurant and do those things. And you can do those. And you can also make intentional choices while doing that to still make progress towards your goals and get that social interaction that you're craving.
Yeah.
Like it is possible to do both. It just sometimes it takes a little more planning and effort.
Yeah, planning and effort. It's like two things that you can create like unlimited amounts of success inside of your journey or any goal that you're pursuing for sure.
Yep.
So whenever one thing I do see very often in your stories or whatnot is how important gut health is for you. So what created the importance of you prioritizing gut health?
Yeah, so part of my like nutritional journey, which it's been fascinating to me. Like I've, you know, over the last couple of years, I really try to pay attention to my body and what the cues are telling me, you know, in various forms. And so I think after I did bodybuilding shows, that kind of triggered some intolerances in particular for me. And I think it's kind of like as you start to eliminate things and your body kind of goes, oh, maybe we didn't like those to begin with. And so something like dairy, you know, I've realized through trial and error that my body does not tolerate dairy anymore. You know, but like I used to be able to eat it when I was little and I just can't anymore. Like the benefits of it, the enjoyment I get from it do not outweigh the consequences. And, also, as part of that, I've struggled quite a bit with digestive symptoms and health and going to different specialists and kind of trial and error. And so figuring out the things that my body needs. And ultimately, a lot of the research that's coming out shows that a lot of our health starts in our gut. So if you're not taking care of your gut and those microorganisms and bacteria that are growing in there and giving them beneficial things, it actually affects your brain function. It affects your overall health. And like they're looking at a lot of like now chronic inflammatory conditions like a Crohn's disease or like irritable bowel syndrome. There's all these new things coming out, and a lot of it comes back to gut health. So there's still so many things we don't know, and I don't think we have a clear picture on what exactly. Like it's probably one of the still most under-researched areas. And it's starting to catch up, but it's just something we don't know a lot about. So, you know, I'm just kind of at this point, I've had a lot of benefit and success with myself with just prioritizing getting a variety of fruits and veggies in, and making sure I'm kind of listening to the things that don't make me feel good and just making sure I'm consistently getting enough fruits and veggies or supplementing appropriately to set myself up for success, because that ultimately I've seen pays dividends in terms of my mindset, my energy levels, my sleep patterns. Like it all kind of comes back to my gut, which I think is crazy.
Well, I read somewhere one time that the gut has it has its mind of its own.
Yep.
It's so much goes through the gut, so much, right? That's where your life is. Like that's where you digest.
Yeah, they call it like the second brain now.
Yes.
So it's like your enteric, you know, your separate system essentially, and like your vagus nerves and all these different things that are kind of subtly impacting all these other areas.
Yeah, because it has a rhythmic pattern, right? So it has an involuntary muscle pattern that goes through, that makes your food move through the entire system. And I feel like whatever has that has a mind of its own. Like same thing with your heart, right? And your lungs. Like those things, they involuntarily do what they got to do so you can be able to live. But when it comes down to to the gut health, have you ever thought of because I know we eat so much. Like, think about how much that goes through the gut, right? But you ever done research on fasting?
So I have looked at fasting, and I've done one 72-hour fast in my life, and it was miserable. But
I know, dude. I have to.
I think fasting, it's one of those interesting topics where there's still a lot of misinformation on it. And I think that it has become very commonplace for people to kind of find what they're seeking out. Where someone says, oh, like I want positive stuff for fasting, so they're going to seek it out and then extend that. So like, for example, there's a lot of beneficial research right now supporting 48-hour or longer fasting and the benefits on the body.
Yes.
But people will take that data and support like a shorter fasting window. So let's say somebody who just eats in an 8-hour window during their day, and say that those are the same benefits.
Oh, intermittent fasting, right?
Yeah. So that to me, like the results or the data is not necessarily the same for those. And if somebody says, hey, I want to do intermittent fasting, whether it's eating in a 4-hour, an 8-hour, 6-hour window during my day, I always ask why, why are you doing that? And if people are trying to lose weight and they like to have more condensed, kind of bigger meals, and that works in their lifestyle, great, do that. But if you're looking at like the benefits of fasting, a lot more of that research has been done in longer fasting windows. So 48 hours, 72 hours, not like just skipping breakfast and calling it fasting to me is not the same thing. No. Like it's a strategy to lose weight. And ultimately what that comes down to is eating in a calorie deficit. But for a lot of people, it's not a realistic thing, and you don't have to do that. It's one strategy, but it's not this like miraculous tool that's going to give you the body composition that you want just because you did intermittent fasting.
Right.
Like, ultimately, if you eat garbage and you do intermittent fasting, that doesn't mean you may weigh less, but that doesn't mean you're going to see the body composition that you want.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And like ultimately, like, do I realize or do I acknowledge that doing a 72-hour fast once a month could be beneficial for my health? Yes. Am I going to do it? Probably not.
I want to, not going to lie. I want to start.
I felt terrible, but
I've done 24, that's it.
24, yeah.
And that shit was rough.
I did a 72, water only. I mean, I had caffeine withdrawal. Like it's pretty eye-opening.
72 hours, 3 days.
Yep. And yeah, and ultimately it comes down to like, if you're just like as a performance-based athlete, it was tough for me because it really negatively affected my workouts during that time and the days after because I wasn't fueled.
Yeah.
But is it a beneficial probably for positive health or to do every so often? Absolutely. Like there's a lot of good research of it just kind of getting rid of crappy cell tissue and inflammation and kind of flushing everything out. It's showing a lot of promise. So
yeah, just know who you are, right? Know who you are, know what you want to do and why you want to do it. But fasting for sure, dude. I do want to try it. Tom Bilyeu is a that was okay. Tom Bilyeu. You just let it go. We just have that one. I got enough on it.
Okay.
Do you know who Tom Bilyeu is? Do you know what Quest bars are?
Oh yeah.
So he's the one that co-founded Quest or whatever. So he brings on people onto his like show, and he's been bringing on a lot of people that specialize in fasting.
Okay.
So I've been like watching that, and I think the crazy benefits of fasting is crazy. And I feel like all just because you completely zero out your gut,
yep.
like you clean everything out, and give it time to then work on like itself or work on breaking down free radicals and proteins, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And but I do feel like you need to understand who you are. So if you're an athlete, you don't have time for fasts. Like you don't have time.
Yeah, or maybe not as often as somebody else. And yeah, I just think there's still a lot of confusion on fasting. Like, oh, well, I'm just going to eat from 12 to 8 because I'm going to get all these benefits from my gut. I'm like, are you though? Like, I don't think, like, people feel guilty sometimes because of diet culture and thinking, well, what if I don't want to do that? Does that mean I'm not going to be successful? And I'm like, no, like, intermittent fasting does not work in my lifestyle. I have too much to eat. I don't like to eat big meals. Like I like to eat more consistently throughout the day. That's what works for me. And I'm not going to feel guilty about that. Like if I'm prioritizing healthy foods, like I don't think just because someone does intermittent fasting and they eat garbage, that does not make them a healthier person than me.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And just because I eat more frequently, if I eat garbage, that doesn't make me healthier than somebody else. So ultimately, the foundational principles don't change, and just looking at those things of, hey, what works in your lifestyle, and if you need to eat in a calorie deficit, it's one strategy among others.
Right. Exactly. Always, I think it's so cool with body and health that you can just experiment with different things, and you have the option to do so. Like you can figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
And there's just it's not a one size fits all approach. You know, you can try different things, but just because so-and-so does keto or so-and-so is vegan or so-and-so does fasting, like doesn't mean you have to do that. If it doesn't work for your lifestyle, like that's okay. You know, you can find another thing and work beyond it. There's a lot of ways to be successful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. So with all the current listeners and future listeners, right? Well, for everyone who's going to be listening to the show or this episode that is like new to the podcast, maybe doesn't even know who you are at all, where's the best place for people to reach out to you, ask you a question, or maybe get some guidance or something? Or maybe just say, yo, that episode was awesome. I want to ask you about this or this and that. Where's the best place for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, probably through my Instagram page. I do dabble in some other things, but that's kind of my most consistent platform. So at Kelstone35.
Kelstone35. Why 35?
I don't know. There's just a random
It
number.
was just there?
Yeah.
I was wondering. I was like, why she put 35 right there?
Kelstone was taken, so it was just nice. To me, I like 5s and 0s on the ending. I don't like random other numbers.
Right,
so
right.
it feels even. But 5's not an even number, but it's like
It just feels right.
yeah, it feels right.
Have you asked that girl, Kelstone?
No,
do you know who that is?
I don't. No, I should look.
It'd be
That's
kind of
funny.
cool
That
to
would be
see like
funny.
who that is.
Yeah.
But I got one more thing for you before we leave here. For people out there listening right now that are just struggling with like figuring out what they need to do, because it's health and fitness. Whenever there's so much stuff out there, right? So saturated. So when people are looking for something to help them, they're on Google or they're doing something and it's overwhelming, right? Just so much stuff coming at them.
Yep.
Because obviously we have been in it for so long.
Yep.
But someone out there right now is suffering right now that hasn't been in it ever, and they're trying to start. What is some great advice you could give them if they're talking to you right now and they're telling you their problems and they're like, yo, I've been trying to find this and that, trying to find answers. I just don't know what to do.
I think it's just getting started. Don't get attached to needing to be in the perfect place to start your journey, whatever that looks like for you, and just starting small and building from there. So it's better to say, you know what, I'm new to exercise. I'm going to commit to doing 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week, and build from there, than to say, I'm going to work out 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I'm just going to hit the ground running, because that it's just too much too fast. So be consistent, make something a habit, and then build from there, and seek out people that you find value from and who motivate you to want to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself and you feel like can give you value. Like, I think there are so many people nowadays that follow people, whether it's social media or they're reading books or blogs or whatever it is. And it's like people that don't make them feel good about themselves or, are putting out crappy information. Like, you don't waste your time with those people. Like, find people who you think are going to add value to your journey and spend your energy there.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I think that's hard for, I think, anyone, like, to find that hot spot in like the value world to like find all your fuel from.
Yeah. Like, find an accountability person, find people that motivate you, but people that are real, that are going to say, you know what, like, I have bad days too.
Yeah.
If somebody is stuck in that this is the only way, like, red flags to me are people who putting out content. This is the only way to do this. I never have bad days. I'm perfect. Like, those aren't the people you want to follow.
Like,
honestly.
well, how does that even sound close to being real?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't.
No.
That's awesome. Gosh. Kelly, that was good. That was good. Every time I talk to you, it's like so
I could just keep talking forever.
yeah, it's like so powerful. But all right, everybody, Kelly Stone, find her at KelStone35 on Instagram. Reach out to her, ask her any questions if you need to. But other than that, I hope you grabbed some value in this episode today. I hope you learned something from her or me, or found some sort of inspirational thing inside this episode. Kelly's very unique in how she thinks and how she moves through her life, and that's the biggest reason why she's been on the show 3 times already, because we keep these types of guest speakers close, because if they bring value to me, then I know they're going to bring value to you guys, and that's the most important part. You want people to bring value to you so that you can find that inspiration within inside yourself to believe in who you are, so you can go out there and perform at your base capability. If that is you being a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, a son, a daughter, a coworker, a freaking neighbor, a uncle, an aunt, you're going to be a business owner, a student, whatever it is you're trying to do, you want to be the best at it. You need to believe that you can be the best at it and then go pursue it. And especially when it comes down to your health and just health overall. And that's why we bring on amazing people like yourself all the time. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed this episode. Kelly Stone, Coach Matt. We'll see you all later. Peace.
Peace.